Hello and welcome back to another video for Final Fantasy XIV. This time we're looking at the Final Fantasy XIV subreddit Discord, as they have fantastic translations from the subreddit team. Thank you so much for the people like Aluna Minore, etc. on the Reddit side of things for this incredibly useful translation. A link in the description will take you to the link to actually join this Discord. I would highly recommend you do so for all of the latest and greatest, and definitely for the translations during live letters, etc. So thank you very much for this. But we do have this translation of the Korean Q&A during the Korean FanFest of 2022 that took place a few days ago. So if you want to go and look at this, there is actually a link to the blog.livedoor Japan one. I'll put that in the description as well if you'd rather read through this yourself. But essentially, these questions aren't really in any major order or of any kind of importance. They're just here. So we have some juicy details to go through. So let's just hop straight into it. The first question was, are there any plans on implementing mechanics that measure completely on the strength of Job's DPS instead of mechanics that test healers or tanks' capability? This person says, it'd be interesting to see mechanics that are really complex and can easily wipe players in case of failure, enough to make players feel as if, quote, I'm the god of DPS, end quote, and feel proud about it. The answer that was given says, not that we didn't think about it, but for now we do not have plans right now. I understand that this will allow parties to feel as if they've achieved something great, but this would also mean the person who designed the battle will feel seriously responsible in order to make this happen. This will also create several stress for players who pug, so we didn't feel the incentive to create mechanics like this. This will also create situations where parties will ask for particular compositions and end up easily chaotic. It's not that we definitely won't do something like this, but allow us to ponder on this to see if we want to implement mechanics like this in future content, end quote. Personally, I think that DPS checks are enough of a challenge for a lot of the fights, and the reason that they focus predominantly on mechanical pushes and DPS checks on those mechanics is, so that everybody has access to that. I think if we start making it so that specific things require certain job DPS, then it might be a little bit sort of unbalanced, especially if, one is favored more than another. But I don't know. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. Maybe that would be a good idea. Let me know what you think. Let's go on to the second question. What is your favorite content among all the battles you've designed so far? So this is in regarding a question to Mr. Ozma, who the guy who basically designed pretty much all of the battle content we enjoy. This person says, my favorite was Containment Bay, P1T6, and Ozma. I remember being really fond of Containment Bay Pit 6 and Ozma, that and Eureka as well. I remember when I was shown Sephiroth's phase transition, where he grew into humongous size during the development phase by Sudo. I thought, wow, he's going all the way to do this, and I was seriously appalled and surprised by his ideas, and that left some frustration within me, and I thought I need to do something to enhance the ideas I had for Sophia at that time too. After coming out with various ideas, I settled with the idea of scales. So there's another question regarding that as well. Is there a reason behind recommending fighter, as in Disciple of War, equipment instead of tank equipments? Oh, sorry, this is unrelated. Oh, okay, this is just a random question then. So hold on a minute. So yeah, basically Mr. Ozma-san basically felt a little bit left behind, I guess. I guess they kind of inspire each other when it's, when you're developing content. That's really cool to hear. So like you see something cool and then the next person goes, oh, I want to make something even better than that, Oh, the scales on Sophia. I have bad memories of that time. A lot easier now that people know what they're doing, let's put it that way. So let's move on to this third question. Is there a reason behind recommending fighter or Disciple of War equipment instead of tank equipment when tanks use the recommended gear button? Oh, interesting. The answer is, since we completed the number adjustments, referring to the downscaling for Endwalker, all players should have no issues with the equipment when pressing the recommended gear button. Yeah, I thought that problem had been solved a long time ago. Yeah. Next question. There is no Eorzea, Chocobo, or Kestrion available right now. Do you have plans of implementing that into the game? Our plans to release Orchestrion for 6.1 is already decided at this point, so I doubt this will see implementation on the next patch, but I'll definitely relay your request to the division who's responsible for this. There we go. So I guess we're getting that in the future. Next question. Recently, we see many battles that utilize only a portion, a center part of a battle arena, instead of utilizing the vast landscape of the arena. While I still enjoy the current play feel of the raids right now, I am wondering if you have plans to utilize a more three-dimensional space of the arena, like Alexander's Creator, Floor 3, which is Cruise Chaser, or Sigmscape, Floor 1, which is Ghost Train. Oh, that's interesting, yeah. I personally like those fights. The Japanese uses the word, I don't know what that says, which means three-dimensional. Oh, interesting. There you go. But the context is likely referring... Oh, I see the reference there. Interesting. The answer is, we would like you to enjoy the Pandemonium raids, which will be implemented for the patch 6.0 cycle. We also get that there are many requests on unique and eccentric battle arenas here, so we do think of actively applying that feedback into our designs for trials and raids in the future. I'm trying to think what the most elaborate thing that struck out to me was. Probably in Byakko, you know, where you get thrown into the air and you have to like free fall. It not necessarily like an arena where you're doing the same thing is the stuff I like. I like it where it takes you to somewhere you didn't expect, like free falling and controlling your character dodging the balls. I thought that was quite a nice gimmick personally. I'm sure a lot of people will disagree with me, but yeah, new original places is always one of the things I look forward to myself personally. Right, next question. We would love to have a feature where you can control weather and day-night in group pose. Get this person a medal. Whoever asked this, you were a person of my own heart. The answer is, from Yoshi P, I apologize that this is my preference here, but I'd have to decline the implementation of this feature. It's not about cost or anything, he says. This is a feature that we can do, so if we want to, but allow me to explain the reason why. The reason behind the decline, by that decline, is that in an MMORPG, I much personally prefer players to enjoy a world with other players without having to feel as if they get to monopoly or control how the world would look like. So giving players the ability to change the weather or time freely like what a god would do is something I would like to avoid, he says. You may think this answer won't fit the modern state of things, but I want players to experience having to wait for the suitable time and pose themselves in order to capture the best particular moment for the screenshot for contests. I apologize if I couldn't comply with this request. Consider it as my preference for a role-playing experience here. End quote. That's an interesting take on it. So I guess he kind of wants G-pose pictures to be spur of the moment. That's an interesting take. I'm surprised by that personally. So there isn't any technical limitations behind implementation. It's just rather there's a reason that seems to be that he doesn't want people to play God with pictures. They kind of already do, don't they? In some way. I mean, I don't know. I don't agree with that personally, but it doesn't matter what I personally think anyway, in my opinion. I don't know, that's a strange one. I'm surprised at that. I understand the idea of trying to like be more immersive and the right time and the right moment sort of thing, but at the same time, you have the right moment at the right time and then suddenly it starts raining. It kind of irritates the poop out of me when I have to then record later when it's not raining, for example. The Azim Step and the Mist knows exactly what I mean there. All right, well, let's move on. Next question. Please share your top 3 mechanics that made you think this is really some awesome mechanics I've created, end quote. Nakagawa takes this. The third position would be Ozma's gimmick, where it changes shape halfway in Mark. Oh, the Weeping City. The second would be Sophia's scales and the balance gimmick, but the first would be the delay spell on the cycle mechanic in Eden's Gate second floor. Oh, there you go then. Next question. Is there a possibility where Squadron will see updates like the addition of new races or expansion of Squadron teams from 1 to 2? This is something that I actually asked a little bit before, like where they were going to go with trusts and stuff. So we'll see. Yoshi P says, we intentionally didn't implement any updates for this content. We have 2 reasons behind this. One is due to having to upgrade the quality of trust system for Endwalker. Second, this reason is highly tied to the future updates of 14, which I apologize that I cannot disclose right now, but please give us time until we're ready to announce updates on the content, end quote. So yeah, it looks like my suspicions might be correct then. I think that we're going to have trusts sort of expanded upon, where we actually have maybe even sort of like MSQ size stuff, like 8-player stuff. So like, you know, the Praetorium, my bet right now, and you can quote this, you can clip this to me in the future when this happens, so I can tell you, you know, I told you so. They're going to implement the trust system for 8 players, and they're going to replace those 7 people in Castrum, Praetorium, or, you know, Meriadenum with 7 NPC Grand Company members. I think that's what's going to happen. I don't think the MSQ roulette's going to exist forever in its current state. I think there will be access to that. You can quote me on that in the future. You can tell me I'm wrong. That's fine. But that's what I think is going to happen personally, especially with how far we've gone with that system and how they're focusing on the trust system. It doesn't look like they would need to update the Squadron content until there's a reason to update that. And I think that the behind the scenes, like, let's see how many of these people we can get on screen. Let's see how well we can do this. And I think the prime example of that working as a test bed would be a certain fight in Endwalker. I don't know if people are, I mean, I suppose people have finished Endwalker right now with Heidelin, where you can access that trial with trusts. You know, that's kind of groundbreaking, and I would imagine that's the way we might see things go forward, at least for the MSQ. Because, you know, getting a queue for that as a DPS sometimes, nightmare, right? Why not have trusts for certain parts of the story? Will we see Alliance raids included in that? I hope so, personally, especially with some of the queue times, but we'll have to wait and see. Next question. Throughout all of the content you've created up to this point, were there any strats where you and the developers came up with and ended up similar with the strats thought up by players? Interesting. Nakagawa takes us one. He says, I'd say about half of them being yes and the other half being no. There are many times where I am truly amazed by the player's ability to come up with different yet clean, awesome strategies to deal with mechanics, and resulted in communities settling down with the most effective strategy in the end. I do think that players should freely come up with these strategies they're comfortable with, and doesn't end up strategies that are similar to my own. The marathon method of circling around the arena to deal with meteors back during turn 9, which is the second call of Bahamut, was the most surprising one out of the ones I have seen. Interesting. Here's a big one though that you're all going to be asking. Are we seeing any additions of a new deep dungeon in the future? The answer to which is, we receive a tremendous amount of player voices from all around the world asking for a new deep dungeon. Therefore, we are indeed working on a new deep dungeon, which we plan to release somewhere patch 6.x, so please look forward to it. Excellent. I cannot wait to see what they come up with for that. Hopefully another glowy weapon for everybody. That would be amazing. Solo rankings are pretty hype to watch on Twitch. I watch twitch.tv/Ximoka with an X, Ximoka, quite regularly, actually, trying to get to the top solo runs. And then, of course, we have the wonderful Angelus Demon, which also, you know, there's lots of people that are into that in a big way. And I personally love watching it just for that sort of thing. It's basically almost like an esport at this point to see how fast people can get up there with as cleanly as possible. It's quite fun. You should try it, definitely. I've tried it. I'm awful. But yeah, I'm hype about that though. New deep dungeon. Excellent stuff. Excellent. Next question. Raids prior to Eden's Verse saw players inflicted with the defense down debuff when failing key mechanics, but since Eden's Verse it was changed to damage down debuff. I reckon the developers would struggle on the penalty whenever players fail mechanics, so I'd like to know the story or reason behind the change. Nakagawa says, we think having to inflict damage dealt down debuff is far better than inflicting the defense down debuff. The reason is due to how receiving the defense down debuff, no matter the job, will end up inflicting unnecessary stress on healers. While this also allows healers to have a chance to shine, but due to the frequency of AoE attacks by the boss as well as its high damage, ended up inflicting way too much stress on the healers. Plus, we had to create these mechanics with great restrictions to its effects, so balance was really hard. By using the damage down debuff, the responsibility now falls on the players who got the debuff instead of increasing healer stress no matter which job you go with, and therefore we felt that it's fair to actually do so. Because of that, we've decided to change and apply damage dealt down debuff instead of a defense down debuff. That is very hard to read multiple times in a sentence. I mean, it makes sense, right? It's artificial damage padding, healer padding, basically. Yeah, it's more of a punishment, like, oh, well, you know, there's less chance of us making that enrage now because you stood in this thing, rather than, oh, well, they're dead now, and now this mechanic that requires 8 people to be alive, we have failed immediately. That's the sort of thing that usually happens, or usually happened in the past. Nowadays, it's more of it's still a thing, but less of a thing. So I'm personally glad with that change, being a healer main. Next question, can we have a feature where we can check the time it took to bring down each area's hunt monsters up to rank S? Yoshipi says we can do that if we want to, but we decided not to implement it. Simply because it will make players do hunts just because of efficiency in items, not because they find it fun. I do think people already do that. I do think it's great that players put in great effort using external websites to exchange information about monsters and so on, so I don't think we'll work on that. Oh, that's nice. We do have the insistence of having players feel as if they are are living in the world, and we try not to make things too convenient for them, end quote. I get that. A lot of people have created third-party websites for this exact reason, but I thought the whole idea previously in discussion was to bring more people back into the game rather than having to tab out. Did I miss that point at some point? I don't know. Maybe that didn't happen, that discussion last year. I don't know. But I don't know. I guess they don't want to make it too efficient. I get that. There needs to be some kind of, guesswork involved, a little bit of guesswork about how things spawn and things like that. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe they'll go back on that in the future. Next question. There are cases where mechanics are skipped depending on the boss's remaining health. Was that actually intended that it will be skipped during development? Nakagawa says we do indeed adopt those mechanics after considerations. The specifications for transition based on HP phases were complicated, and it can easily get difficult during balance adjustments, though these mechanics are fewer in number, but we do indeed adopt these kinds of mechanics sometimes. Example of such mechanic would be Lapis Lazuli in A11S. Well, there you go then. Next question. I really enjoyed the one-on-one duels in Zadnor Field during Bozja. Are there any plans to release high-difficulty solo content that is similar? Ooh, interesting. Nakagawa says, I do think that the system seen in Save the Queen's critical engagements is superior, and it'd be a waste to leave it only for Save the Queen content, so I do think of wanting to utilize that system somewhere in the future. Take, for example, say you're at the source and get challenged by Gilgamesh along the way, or getting challenged by Sadhu when you are at the Azim Step, that would be amazing, during your exploration, and them doing so caused other players to gather. I felt that this really felt like you're playing an MMORPG and it could be fun. I do think that we want to utilize this system somewhere in the future. Maybe the issues that come with it can be solved with a system where you can do such content in an instance, so I hope you can wait until we can think of something here, end quote. Interesting. A perfect response to that would be, people who've played World of Warcraft will know about the Brawlers Arena. So the Brawler's Arena is a queue-based system, but you would do one-on-one combat, and there would be increasing challenges as you went through all of the fights. So it could be kind of like a fight club where you fight against a really, really basic target and you avoid some AoEs. And then the next fight gets progressively harder until you're, and people would like arrange around there, like crowds watching that sort of content. So as long as, if they're going down the instance route, as long as there's a way of observation, like an observation mode, that could be really cool, like as a speed run sort of PvE tournament to see how quickly people can clear it. I would love that. We need more content like that, absolutely. Next question, will it be possible to add more UI hotbars? Considering the addition of new skills will increase of such usage, and with other features that I wanted to register into my hotbar due to convenience, I don't think there are enough hotbars for me to utilize them. What class does this person play? Interesting. Yoshi P responds, I see that everyone here has a really active imagination, and I thought they have been using the hotbar in ways that are above even what we've initially intended. While we did not think of increasing hotbar slots, but we can indeed add more if we want to, so I'll relay your request to the team. I cannot give you a definite answer on when it will be implemented, but we'll definitely give it a thought. End quote. I mean, a lot of people use the extra hotbars for macro switching between things and certain situations, but I guess having more hotbars would be cool, but, like shared hotbars, I don't know. I personally don't see the need, but I'm sure some people would disagree and say they do want them, so I guess more is good. The more the better. Next question, are there any plans for battle content to have mechanics that utilizes chess, as the motif, or even some sort of chess-like content in Overworld and so on? Nakagawa responds, the theme of using chess as a mechanic theme has always been something that is frequently brought forward, but I do think it's interesting to see it happen. So it'd be nice if we can apply it somewhere. Plus, I do think it's easy to integrate easily into the lore and push them into content like Gold Saucer with the slices right. Whatever it is, we do not have concrete plans for that at the moment, so please be patient about it. But that would be it. The rest of the questions on... Oh, right, I see. Right, there we go. Aluna Minori says that would be it. The rest of the questions are mainly about lore. Okay, so there is actually a Q&A section with lore. We'll just have a look at that in a second. I like the idea of chess, but it reminds me of, like, Harry Potter. When you have, like, the chess game. I don't know. Maybe it won't be like that. Oh, it'd be cool, though, to, like, be a chess board member and then like you move forward and then you actually have to like duel the other person. Oh man, my imagination's racing now. That'd be amazing. So there's only a couple of questions. Let's do these. So these are lore related, so if you want to cut off now because this is due to spoilers, if you have not finished Endwalker, you might want to turn off now for the rest of this, so you have been warned. But the rest of you, let's continue. Let's have a look. The first question, did Elidibus end up mimicking the form of a warrior of light because of his admiration to the hero after being aware of their existence as the first recorded warrior of light in Northrend? Ooh. Answer, it's due to him wanting to gather the thoughts of saving the world, as well as his insistence of doing away the darkness. Okay, that made him take this form. The reason why he took the form of Warrior of Light is due to its efficiency. By doing so, he could maximize the amount of such thoughts gathered in order to defeat the Warriors of Darkness, which is you. I'd recommend players go through patch 5.1 to 5.3 through the new Game Plus feature. By tracing Elidibus' actions and dialogues throughout, you'll be able to see various contexts behind his actions. Hiccup. Bad time for a hiccup. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of self-explanatory. New Game Plus is a great option for that, by the way. I love just jumping back into a specific patch. Definitely go do that. Next question. Why does Highlander males and Rogadin males have no eyebrows whatsoever? Or the real question, I want eyebrows for those races too, says this person. The answer, no, we actually do. The reason why their eyebrows seem thin to the point of looking non-existent is due to its technical specifications. but they actually do. Oh, well, there you go. There's some Highlander and Rogadin lore. They do have eyebrows. You just can't see them. Ah, fancy. Next question. Will there be any extreme trial battles like Seat of Sacrifice Extreme, where it contains a wide variety of patterns mechanics in the future? Answer. We made extreme trials to learn, similar to first and second floor of Savage in terms of difficulty. If players enjoyed the difficulty we set as of present, I'm sure they'd enjoy Savage as well. Not only that, the concept behind creating extreme trials that way is because of the assigned designer can be more flexible when creating mechanics, and in turn bring surprises and impact to our players as well. And that's the direction of extreme trial designs we're taking at the moment. Oh, there you go then. So it's kind of like a leg up system, isn't it, if you think about it? Very cool. Last few questions then. Is the interior of a certain tower in the first now safe from threats? Ooh. The Crystal Tower located in the first is now safe and free. Since this Crystal Tower is originally the Crystal Tower from the 8th Calamity of the Future, if you've read the short story, and is heavily and strictly managed by Garland Ironworks of that timeline, the reason behind the ceiling of Crystal Tower located at the source that contained Grahatir was due to the fear of it being misused, and the Crystal Exarch had the mindset of thinking the tower would be of being dangerous due to the absence of admin. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I agree. Next question. Will there be mechanics like Forsaken seen in 08S? Oh no. Where each jobs have their own mechanics to resolve in future battle content? Answer. Such job and role-based mechanics are indeed included in the upcoming context. This is for Korean players who are still in the 5.5 as of the writing. Pandemonium raids as for Delos, so please look forward to it. Oh yeah, there is. Oof. Yeah, there's a lot of. I think there's more sole responsibility in this tier than I've seen in a long time. At least the first two fights that I've fought have required self-awareness and your own mechanics, otherwise you wipe. So yeah, hopefully they enjoy that in May. Next question. I'd like to know the selection process behind creating a minion. Will there be any antagonist or villain minions that will be implemented to the game in the future? Answer. For monster type minions, the organization known as Minion Alliance are the ones that implement them based on the mood and whim. Okay. As for NPC type minions, Yoshi P is required to check through a list of minions before approving them in order to prevent unwanted spoilers. Once their roles are completed in the story, it will be implemented into the game. So think of it as those that haven't completed their role yet will not receive their own minion. Oh no, does that mean questions about Xenos would be on my mind right now. Oh dear. Next question. What is the most important thing to consider when creating lore and story for Final Fantasy XIV? And here we go. This is the last question's answer. As a director, the most important thing would be the surprise and empathy to resonate with people factor. We create them in hopes that it can be elements where the society of today can ponder on it, he says. We also take care not to create characters that are an absolute or perfect in every single aspect and open up to various thoughts and interpretation from our players as well. Yeah, end quote, by the way. I think that's probably the best for storytelling. You don't want to have like a squeaky clean character with no flaws. Flaws make the story much more exciting. You know, Alphino's flaws are very much obvious if you've played through, you know, Heavensward, etc. But they have made him, I was going to say, a slightly more redeeming character, but I still don't like him personally. I'm going to get hate for that. But you know what I mean? Like, a storyline without flawed characters isn't interesting. You know, every single character in the Scions has some kind of history, and if we don't know about it, we probably will know about it. Like, one of the saddest things to me is Thancred's history, you know, of a hoodlum, basically, and how that was how he was reformed himself, and how he met Louisoix, and how the whole chain of events happened with Minfilia, etc. without those flaws and problems with a character, and to see them progress and advance or degress and de-advance and become a villain, it wouldn't be as compelling as it is. That's why we get such incredible surprises and cliffhangers in the storyline, and I'm really, really looking forward to seeing what 6.1 brings to the table in that regard, considering it's a brand new, clean slate of possibilities that we could see. Anyway, thank you so much to Eluna Minori and the rest of the Reddit team, presumably, who have worked on this, who wrote this up, and who have spent their extra free time on translation, and obviously to livedoor.japan. And, it's fantastic. I don't think we would have got this in another way if it wasn't for these people. So thank you so much. Please click the links in the description, give them some love. But yeah, highlights to take from this: a new deep dungeon coming in a 6.x series. So we've got new deep dungeon to look forward to, alliance raids to look forward to, we've got island sanctuary to look forward to, we've got new storyline to look forward to, new raids, new trials. The Endsinger Extreme should be soon. Oh man, this is the best time to be a fan of 14 for sure. I cannot wait to see what the future brings, and hopefully you're as excited as I am personally. Anyway, much love. Let me know any ideas you have below about what you might think the next deep dungeon will be, what sort of theme it might be, and where it might be set, and we might use some of those answers in a future video. All right, much love, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.